Okay, so we've imported our three images and we've made the images um, different colors, right? From a light blue to the back image, medium blue to the middle image, and then a much darker blue on the top image. And I'm just going to kind of drag it away so you guys can see what's happening, right? So you can kind of see that having the three different levels of the blue is what kind of allows it to pop or have a little bit more definition. So I'm just going to swipe over all of these images and I'm going to just kind of align it so that I have about maybe a quarter or half an inch. And I'm just eyeballing it, and that's perfectly fine for this project. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm just going to make it bigger, right, until there's the same amount of white space around the top, the left, and the right. Um, and I was holding down the shift key to constrain it so that it didn't get dragged out of proportion. I'm just going to swipe over for a second, and I'm going to basically grab this center handle, and I'm just going to drag it for a minute in without holding down the shift key. And the problem is that you can see that it starts to look smushed, right? I mean, your eye can kind of tell that something's going on with it, and you always want to, I'm just going to hit undo, Command Z, but you always want to hold down the shift key when you're scaling stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about how can we add some more pop to this image. And one of the things we can do is we can put a background on it. And I'm just going to go and I'm going to get my rectangle tool, right? And I'm going to draw a rectangle directly over the image so that it just kind of covers the image, right? And I'm going to make it a brighter color so that it pops a little bit more. Maybe I'll choose this kind of acidy green color. And then I can go Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And so you'll notice that right away, it defines the area of the image and it gives it a little bit of pop, which I think is kind of interesting. And then the other thing that I'd like to be able to do is these carnival lights, the lights that are on the carnival ride. In general, these rides are pretty, colorful. There's like a lot of like nice like light imagery happening, and there's a way that we can add color to these areas. So this bank of lights right here, I'm just going to show you how I could add color to that. I'm going to go and get my pen tool, right? And I'm just going to quickly create a shape that covers over that bank of lights, right? I'm not spending a lot of time making color, making that shape. And I'm going to go back into my swatches palette and I'm going to click on like pink, okay? And then I'm going to send that back. So if I go Object, Arrange, Send Backward, right? And I'm just going to click off of it for a second. Let's kind of zoom in so you guys can see what's happening. If I send it back one time, it's kind of interesting. It almost looks like it's pink lights, and it looks like the pink lights are kind of reflecting off of objects around them. It's actually kind of nice. And if I send it back one more time, I'm just going to undo for a second. So that's the shape, right? And if I click on it and I go Object, Arrange, Send Backward, and backward is Command, open bracket, right? So I send it back one time, and that's the effect I get. If I send it back one more time, and I'm just going to hold Command, open bracket, so now you'll see that it's just kind of constrained to only showing me the pink area within the lights, right? It was the brightest part of that threshold. And I'm going to hold Command, open bracket one more time. I'm going to click it one more time. And now you can see that I almost am unable to see any of that color. So I would bring it forward at least one time. So Command, closed bracket will bring it forward. And I feel like that kind of starts to make it look kind of like really an interesting kind of lighting effect. And so I'm just going to go get my pen tool and I'm going to just kind of do that again. Right? And I'm not spending a lot of time, you guys, making the shape. And I can make it a different color. And then I can send it to the back, Command, open bracket, and I'll get my pen tool again. And I'll click again. I'm just making super simple shapes here. Just making sure that I'm covering the area. And then Command, open bracket, right, to kind of send it to the back. And I can do it again. And I'm not really worried about any kind of overlap. And I can make that one yellow, and again, I can send it to the back, right? But you can see that it can start to add like a really nice, interesting kind of colorized effect. And that's the way I would build like some interest, using these bitmap images, right? And again, right, like we were able to colorize it because when you save it as a bitmap, and I just kind of scooted it out of the way, when the bitmap comes into Illustrator, anything that's black can be made any color with the fill and then choosing a color. Anything that's white will be transparent. Like, I think that's the key. The bounding box is completely transparent, and the bounding box is usually the thing that people are just like, oh, I can't believe, it's the hardest thing to get around sometimes in some of these images. But as a bitmap PSD file, that kind of helps, kind of defeat that idea that there's a bounding box. And so in the next one, we're going to kind of look at some type treatments.